So this video is going to be a little bit different than what I usually do. It's not going to be scripted, and I'm just going to kind of be talking a little bit freely. So I've been a fan of wrestling since, well, as long as I can remember, and I was actually planning on making a video about my love of wrestling and why I love it and what got me into it and those kinds of things, but I wanted to specifically make a video about one of my favourite characters in wrestling of all time, and that was The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. And if you don't know, if you're not in the loop of wrestling, then Bray Wyatt actually just passed away suddenly. As I'm recording this, it was yesterday. It's been crazy to see all the love and support that's came out of it, but of course it's a tragedy. He was 36 years old. He died suddenly of a heart attack, and I just want to make this video, like I said, a little bit more freeform, because it's not a video I was expecting or intending to make. And I'm sure I will eventually make the full video about The Fiend, about Bray Wyatt. But for now, I just kind of want to make this video to show my support for Bray and his family, and I just want to share some of my personal favourite moments. I think one of the things that's making this so hard for people is the outpouring of love that's coming from so many people and so many places. It's hard to read some of these things because, by all accounts, Bray was a legitimately really, really good guy, both inside and outside of the ring. And of course he had a family, he had children, and he was only 36 years old, and it just really sucks that this has happened. So as I said, Bray Wyatt was one of my favourites, absolute favourites, and I think there's many different ways that you can look at the way that WWE themselves booked him, but really in many ways it didn't even matter because he was so talented and so over with the fans, and he was so unlike anyone else in the industry, because he brought a level of character depth and personality that you just simply didn't see in wrestling. Something like The Fiend, which was made to be this very metaphorical character that was using a lot of allegories and essentially blending this horror-themed character that's almost like a Jason Voorhees character with a children's 60s TV show host was genius. And that's kind of what Bray was in many ways. He was a genius when it came to story, character, personality, themes, allegories, metaphors. He was always at the epicenter of just pushing the boundaries of what you can do in wrestling. And I think Bray's legacy is going to always be remembered as the guy that pushed the boundaries of storytelling in wrestling and proven to people that it is art. My personal favourite interpretation of Bray Wyatt, my personal favourite character that he ever had, was The Fiend, as I said. And something that I'll never forget is the match between Finn Balor and The Fiend at SummerSlam. It was the first match that The Fiend ever had, and nobody really knew what to expect. But his entrance was unbelievable, and I don't think I'm going to be able to show it in this video, but if you do have the time, I recommend that you watch it, because it's one of the moments that really just shows how engrossing Bray Wyatt could be as a character, because nobody knew what to expect going into that match. His entrance got a holy shit chant, which is very rare, to say the least. And it's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable entrance. The music obviously being a remix of his old cult leader theme, and just everything about it is so cool and unique and interesting, and the match itself is great. It's only like 5 minutes long, but it's phenomenal, and it really gets across the point of what this character was. And after all of the promos building up to that match were just this weird cartoony children's show funhouse, having this horror show of a character come out at SummerSlam and just brutally attack Finn was unbelievable. Another moment that I'll always remember Bray for is his match with John Cena at WrestleMania 36. The pandemic WrestleMania. For me, it's the match that saved the whole show, because it's almost not even a match. In fact, it's kind of not a match. I wouldn't call it a match. It's one of my favorite things that has ever came out of wrestling, because it is not a wrestling match. It's actually a horror art film. And of course, it was made in the pandemic, so it was so interesting and unique, and because of the restrictions set by the pandemic, it allowed WWE to kind of create something more unique than just a simple wrestling match, and Bray Wyatt capitalized on that, and he made a bizarre art film that focuses on a retrospective of John Cena's career and a breakdown of wrestling as a company, as a business, as a whole, and it's fascinating. The Fiend was a character that was unlike anything, and I don't really think we'll ever see anything like it again, because it was so heavily lore driven and story driven, and it was motivated by all of these different personality traits and characteristics that came from his last character, which is, again, very bizarre for a wrestling character to change so drastically but still keep the themes of the character that came before. It broke boundaries. And the cult leader Bray, I know, is a lot of people's favourite as well, because this swamp cult leader who was silver-tongued and could make people do anything based solely on his persuasive abilities, where it's such a cool character. And for me, one of the promos that I'll always remember from him is the Miss Teacher Lady promo, where he talks about how when he was a kid, his teacher looked down on him, and how now he has the whole world in his hands. And it's such a beautifully written promo. And it's again, it kind of perfectly encapsulates how good of a talker Bray Wyatt was, because he was phenomenal as a promo, whether he was doing the cartoonish funhouse thing, whether he was doing the cult leader thing, or whether he was just being himself like he was in the latter part of his career. As someone who has been a fan of wrestling since I was a child, I can honestly say that I have never seen anything like Bray Wyatt. I don't think I ever will see anything like him. He was unique in so many ways, and he's been taken from us too soon. And I hope that, as I said, I'm recording this Friday afternoon, and so I hope that tonight on SmackDown we do get a tribute show akin to what we got with Eddie Guerrero in 2005, because I think Bray deserves that for sure. Bray is a person who got put through the ringer with a lot of bad booking, a lot of things that would devalue or derail a lot of other talent, but because of Bray's sheer creativity and talent, he was able to always come back from these things and always keep people engaged and captivated with what he was doing. So I don't really have too much else to add, But I do just want to say that my thoughts and prayers go out to his family, of course, and I wanted to give a thank you to Bray. Thank you for showing me just what storytelling in wrestling can be, and thank you for keeping me so captivated with your outlandish horror themed characters. And thank you for lighting the way. Follow the buzzards.